Welcome to Being Confident from Within with Natalie Potts, the podcast that shares what it really takes to be confident. I'm passionate about helping people grow businesses with confidence. Does it seem like everyone around you is naturally confident and sure of themselves? Well, the chances are they have self-doubts just like you. I'm in conversations with inspiring individuals to share what confidence means to them and to help you find ways to believe in yourself and create confidence at any time. Joel, thank you so much for joining me today. Very excited about having you on and talking with you. So let's kick off with you sharing a bit about who you are and what you do.
Cool. Thanks for having me. So my name's Joel Stone. I run a marketing agency called Codebreak. We offer done-for-you marketing and coaching. We help small businesses get more customers through digital advertising. I'm a best-selling author in the marketing space. I'm host of the Stay Hungry podcast. And yeah, what else do you need to know?
Good start. So let's go straight into it then. So share what confidence means to Joel.
So I really struggle with confidence. Not something I share very often, and not something that people accept when I do share it. They don't believe me. So my confidence comes from competence. If I'm good at something, my confidence builds with it. But even then, I'm my own worst critic. I'm harsher on myself than anybody else. My expectations on myself are so much higher than anybody could put on me. So I may appear confident, but that's coming from competence, not a psychological advantage.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for sharing that you don't always share your struggle with confidence. I really appreciate that. And actually the idea of competence, I saw it the other day with, again, I'm doing a lot of research and reading myself around this focus area because it feels relevant to, and competence came up in that. And I was like, yeah, no one's really talked about that much. It's really interesting. And I get experience knowledge is essentially that, but it's that language as well. And I like how you build on a term of, I kind of sitting there going, yeah, high expectations, yeah, being good at something, yeah, then I feel confident. And it's really interesting to look at this. Where do you think in life you would want to be more confident, or you're lacking confidence at the moment? Straight in there.
Yeah. It's a strange one. So I struggle in social situations, and people always say, "No, you don't." And
yeah,
like you've
I
seen
don't see it in you. I don't see it in you. Like you just said earlier, I was like, no, I don't see that in Joel.
Yeah. I have to really force myself in a social situation to engage with others. Which always surprises people because I'm always one of the first people to engage with others in a social situation. But that's why. So my tool in that scenario is to make myself do it before anybody else does, because then it's out of the way and you've broken the ice.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with us, right? I remember, I think you came up to me and started speaking, like, because I'd shared my journey or something, and you said, "I'm doing really well," and we just got in a conversation.
Yeah, you were making a coffee, and I was like, "Well, I've got to talk to you because we're the only two people in this corridor. It would be awkward as hell if I don't speak." But if I'm entirely honest, in that moment, I'm shitting myself.
Really, it's so interesting because I think, I didn't get that at all. So this is an interesting one actually, because loads of people must be sitting here thinking, I feel the same way on some things too. And if I'm going to be honest, I think you say it quite simplistic there in terms of that's your tool and you make yourself do it. But that in itself takes confidence just to do it, and to see that you've got to do that awareness part. How do you get yourself to that point of knowing I've just got to do it? I've got to do that. That's got to be my tool.
So I work on the basis that the anxiety is worse than the reality. So if I'm concerned about a social situation or making a fool of myself, that fear is greater than if it actually transpired. So let's say I said hello to you and you said, "Oh, bugger off, I don't want to talk to you."
Yeah.
I'd actually be all right. That's not as bad as I think it would be. And then I sort of stack things. So like I'm quite comfortable to talk on stage to a group of people, which is ridiculous if I struggle to speak to people one-on-one or in a group scenario. I'm quite happy going on a podcast. It's that whole having a look at things logically and then just making sure that my anxiety isn't tricking my sense of reality.
Where does that stem from?
The anxiety?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was a 15-minute podcast. I've had a difficult life. My dad's in prison right now. He has severe mental health issues. My parents were both very angry people. My best friend committed suicide. I've got a long list. Had my own struggles off the back of some of that. But it's all a motivator for me. You got two choices. You can let it absolutely destroy you, or you can use it to lift yourself up. And well, when you look at it like that, you've only got one choice.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on things? And again, thank you for sharing that confidence and vulnerability in a relationship between the two.
So, big believer in pride comes before a fall. And so sometimes you can start to believe your own hype. And I think that's a negative confidence. Equally, if you are really hard on yourself and don't think you can achieve things, you won't. So you have to find that balance. The way I've done it is I've started to be much more open about my vulnerabilities, which means other people can't hurt me, because it's like, well, I chose to share that. You didn't dig it out of me. That was my decision. And then I always put myself in choice. So the more vulnerable I am, strangely, the more confident I become.
Okay. Yeah. It's an interesting one for sure. And it's just made me reflect on a time when I got told I need to be more vulnerable. And I don't know if I was confident, I think, in that situation, but I wasn't vulnerable to want to share my story. But then I guess that actually the confidence in that relationship with that person wasn't there for sure at all. And that's interesting. And I think I reflect back and now I think about, again, like choosing how would I approach that differently to feel more confident in that situation, and probably more mature in approach as well, in terms of there are things I know. I remember, I think we've had a conversation once about like, should I go harder or softer and stuff? Because I know I'm a direct communicator.
Yeah.
And I remember you were like, no, like you need, I think we were talking once about a client where I'd have to give a refund. That was it.
Yeah,
and I was like, you get that self-doubt in your head. You think, holy crap, it's the first one and stuff. And you're like, no, you need that. And I was like, oh, I love that. And I was like, yeah, I do know that. And that empowers you and everything. I guess the vulnerable one is the vulnerable sharing that I went through that experience. And then two, just the fact that the choice of that wasn't then going to dictate how my futures of things and challenge my confidence. And I think, yeah, it's relating that back to that person, though, is I would stand for things differently now if I was to actually be more vulnerable. I wasn't at the time, but I think I would have just said actually yes and no on things. And so because I've been through that experience, and again, that brings confidence, I'm now able to be in my own business and say, actually, this is what I stand for and this is not. And knowing that actually, like you say, that the worst that can happen is going to be like so what? I just need to go through that.
Yeah. And it's massive in business. So if you apply that logic to a sales scenario where you can take your emotion out of it, and basically any result on that call is a result. It's, it doesn't matter if they say no or yes, you're going to be emotionless about it.
Yeah.
You're so much stronger on sales, because I've literally just come off a sales call now, so I'm buzzing. But I basically said to the guy, look, this is what's on the table. Take it or leave it. It makes no odds to me. And that's pretty much, I didn't quite say it that bluntly, but the confidence to say that is the reason why he wants to work with me, rather than me being like, oh, well, I can just throw this in and we could shave this off the top, and I'll just sharpen my pencil a bit here. By the time we've done all that, then none of our clients would ever have any confidence in us.
Is there not a moment when you're in there though and you were thinking, oh my God, or are you literally you are that confident with it now?
I just tried to take emotion out of it. So I think I appear confident, but I've got strict rules in my head about things I'm not allowed to say. So don't just suddenly like, oh, well, we could do this to try and win the sale, because you undermine yourself forever. And equally, the power of the pause. So when I ask someone a question and they give me a crap answer, particularly on a sales call, I just stay quiet until they answer properly. And that moment puts you in, I hesitate to say the word control, but it gives you a platform to build on in a sales environment.
Yeah, you said the word control. I was thinking like the power almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
People like this word, don't want. I was reading about it yesterday of Tony Robbins, the word power, and he uses it very much when the idea is about getting results.
Yes. Yeah. So I want to empower the person on the other end to make a decision either way. And sometimes that just involves me staying quiet.
And it's interesting, as you know, like we've talked with sales before as well, what we're doing, but this idea of I'm big on energy, and this idea of moving people towards and away. And I definitely think that sometimes creating that space, again, creating that silence actually, and pulling someone on their BS at times, sometimes draws people, as much as they think it might be away, which it could do, it's going to draw them to you as well. Like you say, actually, that's the reason they want to work with you.
Yeah. When you're working with successful business owners, they're not used to people saying no to them.
Yeah.
And weirdly, most of them love it. You think it'd be the opposite, but they absolutely love it. They're like, oh, I've been waiting 6 months for someone to say no to me. And that's the dream.
What would you give as advice from a mentoring capacity to people that are very much feeling and resonating with what you said around a bit about the anxiety that, you know, when you don't feel confident in social situations? What would your advice be to them in terms of how they can build their confidence?
Yeah. So I'm well aware I come across as a confident bloke. I've got 12 mentors.
Yeah.
So I fully believe in the idea of being coached and mentored. I don't think, you know, an example I've used on other podcasts, I don't think Usain Bolt won the 100 meters at the Olympics without a coach.
Yeah.
And yet he was probably still the fastest man in the world without a coach.
Yeah.
He needed the coach to make sure that he was sticking to his routine, to make sure he was being healthy, to make sure his mindset was in the right place, to keep the press away from him, all these different things. And you know, there's someone that probably had 6, 7, 8 different coaches for different areas of his life. And I would advise anyone who's struggling with confidence to look at that, particularly in a business environment, because you kind of got two choices. You can make the mistakes yourself, and what will happen is you'll either learn from them and not do it again, which is great, or you'll beat yourself up about the mistakes you're making. Or you can work with a coach and they've already made half the mistakes for you. So you just avoid them from the off.
Yeah. Very true. And that goes back to, I could summarize that as well. It's that asking for help.
Yeah.
That ability too.
Yeah. So I know as a business owner, asking for help's not always easy when you're starting out, because there's probably a reason you're no longer employed and started a business, and it wasn't because you intended to start asking people for help.
Yeah.
But there's this thing that will happen in any business where sort of new level, new devil, as your turnover grows. I'm sad to tell you, your problems get bigger, not smaller. As your business gets bigger, life throws some serious curveballs at you, and some of those things you just will not expect. And a great way that I've solved that is by reaching out to coaches, by saying, well, look, I know you've already been through this. How did you do it? Or I just can't handle the way my staff are behaving right now. I need someone to coach me to coach them. And it's just a great way to overcome some of that adversity.
Yeah. And it's even this, like I remember when I said to the voice note and said, oh, Joe, would you come on a podcast? Or if not, and you're like, you didn't need to say that last bit. And I was like, yeah, true. Let's get it booked in. But it's that part of, I've just realized that actually I just need to get out there more. I want to connect with the right people. It's not it's got to be done with the right intention and purpose for sure. But it's been, I've had no fear in doing it. And it's been amazing to get in conversations with people, that are rich and a bit of the buzzword authentic. But it's been great learning and hopefully something that they take away something from as well. So I've really valued the time with people. So no, I echo exactly what you shared there. Final question for you. Who has been your best mentor then? If you've got 12, who's been, it doesn't have to be one of these guys actually, but who's been the best one for you and why?
So you warned me before we started recording. You asked this, and the whole time I've been like, who's the best one? Who's the best one? I can't choose one.
Okay.
And I'm going to take a bit of a cop out, but it's true. So my mum is one of the most resilient people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Without going into detail, the shit she has been through to be able to raise two lads is nothing short of a miracle. And she worked multiple jobs. She put up with, I think me and my brother were relatively well-behaved kids, but we got ourselves into a few scrapes. She always encouraged us both to do our best. She never said no in terms of us chasing our dreams, even when everybody else thought we were insane. Even to this day, she checks to make sure we're both okay. And and in terms of like work ethic and values and wanting their best for someone, like, it's weird to call your mum a mentor, but that's how I see it. It's like I will always do my best because that's what my mum taught me to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, a lot of people have said their parents, and it's interesting. I'm trying to get my mum on, but she's saying no at a minute. Because I'm like, why would I not have my mum on then? If everyone's saying they're kind of mentors and the reasons that the strongest influences as such in their life,
Yeah.
played such key roles in who and how they are now. It's like, why would I not get my mum on to say that? It's just, no, I think it's very much what a lot of people would say of someone that's kind of been in their upbringing, their childhood as well. And again, we'll share. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Where can people connect with you and find out more about you?
So if you want to drop me a DM, it's at Joelstone13 on Instagram. The best place to sort of get a feel for what I'm about is order the Stay Hungry book on Amazon or listen to the Stay Hungry podcast on all normal platforms.
It's a good podcast.
Thank you.
So I recommend that too. As we were saying, it's nice just sometimes listening to something completely different from what we know, because you'd always take something from everything. So thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Being Confident from Within. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it inspired you in trusting no matter what happens in any particular situation, you'll be able to handle it and learn from the outcome. I really love hearing from you, so please leave a review and let me know which part of the episode resonated with you the most. Have an amazing day.